I'm Phil. I'm a product manager in the Chrome Enterprise team, where I focus on making Chrome easy to deploy, manage, and configure in enterprise environments. Later on in this session, I'll also be joined by Josh Chad, a systems engineer from Starbucks Corporation that will actually describe his experiences with some of the products that you'll see today. So the agenda for today's talk will cover 5 topics. First, I'll discuss why enterprises are actually choosing to manage Chrome in their enterprise environments. Afterwards, I'll go over some of the existing options for managing Chrome in this environment. Then, I'll introduce a brand new product called Chrome Browser Cloud Management. I'll show you a demo, and then we'll bring Josh upstage to tell us about his experiences with Chrome Browser Cloud Management. So let's dive into this why. So the way we work has been changing, and is changing more and more rapidly. A big part of that is actually the evolving role that the web has to play in enterprises today. Software as a service is increasingly being adopted as part of the solutions that businesses need to deploy to be effective. So as more of this work gets done on the web today, it's very important to be able to manage the browser or to make the browser as easy for your end users in an enterprise to make use of the browser in your enterprise setting. And so that's why you want to be able to deploy things like presets that make it easy for your users to just open the browser and get their work done. So in that context, since the browser is quickly becoming the centerpiece for the delivery of business-critical applications, we see IT administrators getting very interested in trying to understand how they can manage Chrome. And so the feedback that we're seeing, or the statistics that we're seeing from IT administrators and the IT workers are that both are seeing this shift towards the web. Here you can see some stats around 73% of enterprises agree that the browser is becoming more important for their IT strategy. We see workers that are reporting that increasingly, compared to 2 years ago, they're using the browser more. And there are also estimates saying that by 2020, over 80% of business-critical applications will be in the cloud. And so in that context, making sure that your users are productive and have the right deployments for Chrome and the right configurations is very important. But it's also more than just about productivity. It's about security. Because with all of these applications being used in your enterprise in the cloud, it's very important to be able to control the data and how essentially your employees are interfacing with these applications. And so if you're in a business environment that's regulated, or you have very strict enterprise policies around data management, that's another very strong reasons to consider managing the browser. And so the need to manage the browser has been increasing. 3 of the use cases that we frequently hear about when wanting to manage the browser are extension management, so being able to block extensions that might not fit within your business context, install extensions that are critical for your employees to just get their work done, such as a video conferencing extension for your specific video conferencing software. You may want to also deploy those enterprise-specific presets, such as bookmarks that include links to your internal pages that your employees need to use on a regular basis, or just other things in that nature, such as printer settings and defaults. Similarly, for enterprises, it's extremely important to be able to control updates, so the rate at which Chrome updates, and to have options for that. So we also have enterprise policies that allow you to actually configure Chrome updates. And so today in Chrome, there are 2 ways to manage and set these policies. The first is to use existing platform tools. So for example, on Windows, you can use group policy objects, or GPOs, to actually set more than 300 policies that we make available in Chrome today. And there's a very wide range of things. So if there's a setting or a knob in one of the Chrome settings, odds are there's an equivalent policy that an administrator can use to actually manage Chrome. There's also another way for enterprises that are using G Suite today, and you have Google user accounts, you can actually set policies against these user accounts. So when your users sign in to use G Suite, Chrome will actually get those user policies and apply them as well. So there's an existing way for you to set policies from the cloud if you have G Suite. But both of those approaches actually come with some challenges. On the platform side, if you're managing a deployment that has multiple different operating systems, such as Mac, Windows, you need to use different tools in order to set those platform policies. Very often in an enterprise, it also means that that enterprise will need to interact with different IT administrators that actually manage those specific deployments to be able to make those changes. On the user profile side, you need to ensure that your users are signing into the browser if you want to make sure that they have those Chrome policies. And that's a challenge. And while Chrome does make a platform policy available that essentially allows you to optionally force your users to sign into Chrome, that's not always an experience that IT administrators want to deploy. And those are the two challenges that are actually solved with this new product, which we're introducing today, called Chrome Browser Cloud Management. It's a way to manage Chrome deployments of any size centrally from the cloud across Windows, Mac, and Linux. It's an easy solution to implement, as you'll see in some of the demos. And it also comes with new features that allow you to gain deeper insights into your actual deployment. So as we go over some of these features, you'll be able to see what kind of information and what kind of actions you can make directly from the Google Admin Console. And so if you have an Admin Console account today, you can get started using it today. The feature has already been provisioned in your Google Admin Console. And so if you're an existing customer for G Suite, if you have Chrome Browser Enterprise support, if you have a Chrome Enterprise license for managing Chromebooks or other Chrome OS devices, or if you have Cloud Identity, odds are just signing into your existing console, you will have access to this new feature and you can deploy it in your enterprise. If you're not using one of these Google Cloud products yet, you still have a way to test it out today by going to g.co, Chrome Cloud Management, and creating one administrator account that will allow you to try out all of these features that we'll be demoing today. So before we go into the demo, I want to talk about one critical feature which is different than the traditional way that has been managed in Chrome. And that's actually the browser enrollment process. So instead of relying on user profiles and users signing into Chrome, the way that you enroll browsers and you manage these browsers is different. So let's take a look. Here's an administrator that has an access to the Google Admin Console. So they'll sign in with their credentials into the Google Admin Console, create their organizational unit structure, which essentially allows you to create different groups and set policies against those groups. From the Admin Console, you can retrieve an enrollment token for the organizational unit in which you want to enroll browsers. Once you have that enrollment token, you will use one last platform policy to set that enrollment token against on the browsers or on the devices for which the Chrome browsers you'd like to enroll. Once you've done that, the next time the browser starts, it will synchronize with the Google Admin Console, get cloud policies, and start applying those. And so as an administrator, you still have the option to use your existing platform tools to set additional policies, and you have the ability to manage and set cloud policies directly via your Admin Console account. So let's take a look at this feature. So in this first demo, we'll actually walk through the steps for browser enrollment. So what you'll see here is an administrator signing into the Admin Console, navigating to the browser management pages, selecting an organizational unit that they want to retrieve an enrollment token for, and retrieving it. So we're navigating to the device management pages, and then we're selecting Manage Browsers, which brings us into the Chrome Browser Cloud Management pages. We select our organizational unit on which we want to onboard devices, request the token, and from that point on, we can copy that token to the clipboard or download a handy registry file that will allow us to set the token. So this is the point at which we would set that last platform policy on the devices that you would like to enroll into this organizational unit. And once those devices start Chrome, Chrome will enroll into the cloud and start fetching policies. So what you'll see here is a browser list of that has been populated after these devices have actually enrolled. And by default, these devices enroll with a small amount of information that makes it possible for them to receive and set policies. And so here we'll see some of the sorting and filtering options that exist for you in the cloud. So for example, here I sorted by browser version, so I'm able to identify maybe some of the browsers that are in need of being updated. Can also filter by Windows 10 or other criteria to help me dig through some of this information very quickly and make changes. So now we'll take a look at the browser details section. Now, browser details are enabled if you actually turn on the cloud reporting extension. So by default, essentially the browsers don't send a lot of information. When the administrator decides to turn on this feature, then more information is sent and allows you to populate information within the browser details and the browser extension list page, which we'll see after. So here, I'm selecting a specific browser, and I can see some of the information that's being set. I'll be able to see information about which profiles are using this browser, what apps and extensions are installed on that specific browser, we'll also go and be able to see the policies that are applied both locally and in the cloud for that specific browser, allowing me to confirm exactly the configuration of that browser. Be able to see plugins or custom fields that other administrators have set for this browser. Next, we'll take a look at a new feature called the browser's extension list. What this does is just provides a bird's eye view of which extensions are provisioned across your entire deployment. So this is a great way for you to make very quick changes to essentially the policies that dictate which extensions can or should be installed. And so here what you'll see is an overview of the extensions list page, and you will also see an action being taken on a specific browser. And so here we're in the browser details page. We'll use the breadcrumbs to navigate to this new browser extension list. Once I'm there, I'm currently looking at all organizational units, and I'm looking at a summary of all of the extensions that have been installed across my organization. And I can choose to force install an extension that's useful for my business-specific context. In this case, we chose Docs. And I just have to click a single button, and that will actually be applied across all organizational units. And finally, I'll just show how easy it is to set browser policies in this way across all Windows, Mac, and Linux. And so from the extensions list page, I'll use the breadcrumbs again, choose users and browser settings. Once this page loads, I'll scroll through some of the myriads of different options that exist in the admin console for setting browser policies today, from managing extensions, much more. I'll search for the cloud reporting extension that enables this more advanced reporting features and turn it on. And at that point, the configuration's done. It will be pushed to all the browsers in the selected organizational unit. So it's important to talk about how the data management works for a service like this. And so we've created new terms of service for this specific product. They're compatible with the cloud terms of service. There's a way for you to export your data at any time, so you can actually see all of the information that is being stored in order to be able to manage these browsers. And deleting a browser in the admin console also deletes the information that's there. And so that's a really quick summary of Chrome Browser Cloud Management. If you want to hear more about it, I would really encourage you to come down to the work transformation area on the first floor to be able to try it out for yourself. We have many people on the team that are available and that can show you a hands-on demo. So once again, it's just a really quick way to manage across Windows, Mac, and Linux. You can gain additional insights into your deployment very quickly, and it's a new way for you to be able to delegate specific tasks like browser management, maybe to one person in your organization. So we think this is going to make managing Chrome, managing the web experiences of your employees much easier. Thank you. And now I'd actually like to bring Josh on stage from Starbucks to talk about his experiences managing Chrome from the cloud. Hi, Josh. How are you?
Hey, thanks, Phil.
So Josh, can you start by telling us a little bit about your experiences with why did you get started with managing Chrome?
Yeah, so my team manages end-user compute platforms, so Mac, Windows, Chromebooks, for an entire organization. We've been using Chromebooks for quite a while and got really familiar with the cloud management there. And we've always wanted to manage Chrome browsers on our various platforms, but doing so has been pretty difficult because we don't own all the tools to do the platform management, and nor did we like the experience where we forced users to sign in. We did try that, and we got a lot of feedback that it was not a good experience for our end users. So when we got the opportunity to do the cloud management, we jumped right into it. We got a pretty large test group, and we heard almost nothing, which if you're in IT, it's great to hear nothing when you deploy something, because either nobody cares or it just went so well that nobody noticed. And we also found that we were able to solve several issues that had been coming up that before had just been really tricky for us to solve. And since the browser is so important for our distributed workforce, it made a lot of sense to move to Chrome management.
So Josh, can you tell us a little bit about your experiences with Chrome browser cloud management?
Yeah, so initially, just as Phil was saying, managing Chrome on multiple platforms was really difficult. We only were able to do it on some and not all. The consistency of experience just wasn't there. And also the amount of time it took to manage Chrome on each platform in a different tool for each platform was just very difficult. So then when we moved to cloud-based management, it centralized all of those pieces so that we could manage out of the same tools that we were already used to today in a central location. So we had a consistency of experience no matter if you were on a Chromebook or on a Windows PC or on a MacBook. And another piece that we didn't have any visibility to was managing extensions. Something that we did on our Chromebook deployment, but it was not possible within our browser deployment. And we also just did not have any visibility to what extensions anyone was using with the existing tools we had to manage our fleet. And so, as Phil had talked about earlier, this simplified the ability for us to manage those extensions so that we can make sure that our employees have the best experience possible. They're not going to be downloading or using anything that we would consider not great for their experience on our platforms. And then we also had an issue with visibility. So Chrome browser has been a standard for us for quite a while. We could tell different versions that were installed across our ecosystems, but we didn't have a deep level of visibility to some of the things that were going on in those platforms, especially around extensions and around version management. And so with this, we were able to see not only what versions were out there, but also get analytics as far as kind of how quickly we're seeing adoption of browser updates, as well as extensions.
All right. So Josh, can you tell me a little bit about your experiences with setting this up?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we first tried this on our MacBook deployment, and it probably took about 5 minutes of configuration to write the tiny script and push it out through our existing management tools. And then similar experience on Windows as well. And it was all within platforms that we already controlled. So it was very, very easy to deploy and have almost nearly instant visibility to at least some part of our fleet.
Can you give some examples of policies that you've set using this system?
Yeah, so we have, like a lot of organizations, a lot of legacy tools, some that still rely on Flash. So one thing we did, we whitelisted several internal sites that we have that still have not migrated off of that, just so that we're not seeing unnecessary prompts or having to send out instructions that are very difficult for the average user to follow to enable those policies. We're also doing things like automatic client cert selection. So you go to specific sites within our intranet, it will automatically detect the domain or the actual site, and then it will select the appropriate certificate off of the computer to present to that site. We're also pushing out bookmarks, as well as we're doing some cookie management to make it a little bit simpler to manage some of those other issues we were having when cookies were getting stuck on certain sites.
Nice. So what's your favorite feature?
I think part of it is just how easy it is to implement those policies and push them out to all platforms, regardless of type, as quickly as possible. And we have that consistency of experience. So I'm one of the many users who has multiple platforms. I run on Chrome, Windows, and Mac. And no matter what browser I'm on, no matter what machine, if it's enterprise managed through the cloud, I'm able to have the same experience on every single one of them without having to sign in and do all of those things.
That's great. So thank you very much, Josh,
Thank you.
for joining us on stage. So now it's time to talk about what's next for this new feature. So the first thing is that for administrators that are used to the wealth of policies that are available for configuring via the platform system, you might be aware of the fact that in the admin console, there are fewer policies that are available. There are still hundreds in the admin console, but we really do want to make sure that there's a very rich set of policies available in the admin console. And a lot of our roadmap actually has to do with this. And so first and foremost, we want to bring legacy browser support and bring that into the admin console to make it very easy for administrators to turn on this feature. So for those that are not familiar with legacy browser support, it's a way for you to be able to specify a legacy browser to fall back to for those enterprise applications that just simply don't support a modern browser. So this is a really nice feature that we make available today already, but we want to make sure that it's configurable via the cloud. Additionally, we want to bring richer sets of update controls into the admin console. So if you attended Anuja's talk earlier for the roadmap, there's a few different features that we're going to be bringing for controlling updates, such as pinning and rollbacks for browsers. So if you ever end up in a situation where a Chrome update actually has a negative impact on your enterprise environment, you'll have an easy way to click and revert those browsers to the previous version of Chrome to make sure that your business can just keep running and be effective while that specific issue is resolved. Additionally, we've heard from larger enterprises that they would also like to have an API to access some of the management features that are available in the admin console. So that's also something that we'll be bringing. And finally, with the announcements at the previous Next of password alert policies and similar enterprise security features, we know it's very important to be able to manage those also seamlessly from the cloud. And so we'll be bringing management of those policies directly from the admin console as well. So if you'd like to learn more about Chrome browser and the enterprise features that we have, we still have several sessions this week. One of the sessions that I'd like to point out is actually tomorrow at noon, at 12:30, which is by Blue Cross Blue Shield. And they tell a fascinating story about their journey from kind of evaluating Chrome all the way to deploying it. It's a really, really interesting story. Additionally, we have a wealth of resources that are available for any administrator to be able to start using either management features, be they platform, user profile based, or via Chrome Browser Cloud Management. I'll point out 2 resources which I think are really important. The first are our release notes. So at every release of Chrome, every 6 weeks, we bring out a document, an accompanying document that describes the relevant changes specifically for enterprise administrators. So if you want to know what's coming in Chrome and how that might actually impact your enterprise, that is the best place to go and look. There's also a way to sign up for the newsletter if you'd like to receive it as a newsletter. And additionally, our website has links to most of the information that you heard today. And so by simply visiting chrome.com/enterprise, you can really discover the rich set of enterprise features that we make available.